let's take a break from racing, and flying all the super lightweight racing frames, and go look at some freestyle stuff again. So I recently got a steel PDB from Impulse RC. Actually got two of them, and I used one to rebuild a frame that I've been flying for a long time and it has like 200 flights on it. So I put new motors, new camera, cleaned it up, new wiring, resoldered everything, and put the PDB in. And then I have a second one, which is a clone of it, more or less almost exactly the same setup, which is this one right here. If you look at it, it looks a lot like the regular steel Alien, only there's a bunch of things that I did differently that I'm going to tell you about, and maybe it'll give you some ideas as to what you might want to do with yours. Yes, the motors are the regular Silk TBS steel motors, the KISS FC steel PDB, but there are a couple of things you need to know. First of all, the standoffs are really short. This is a 25 millimeter standoff, so it's a drop deck. And you know what? When Soma designed this Alien for Impulse RC, it was really ahead of its time. So that's why it's lasted so long as like the main, most famous freestyle frame. It is really good. But you got a lot of frames these days that have adopted the drop deck lower CG setup. Like the Chameleon, that's 20 millimeters. The Stingy frame, the Hyperlow that can go as low as you can, and even inverted. And the Alien, really the only thing that is missing to get up with the times is just the deck, getting it lower. So what I did was I have hex standoffs that I got from Ready Made RC. The hex ones are stronger than the knurled round ones. But in the front, in order to accommodate the camera, I put knurled round standoffs, and I got these 3D printed camera mounts from Hyperlow. These are the ones that Hyperlow uses in their frames. So I picked up a bunch of those, building a Hyperlow as well, so I have some of those, and it turns out they fit. You need to use the round standoffs in the front, but it fit. And then I used a Runcam Mini, and it allowed me to drop the deck to 25 millimeters. You can actually go with a Runcam Micro, and you can drop the deck all the way down to 20, most likely, with no problem. But I'm finding this setup is working great, so I think it's as low as it needs to go, and that's what it is. So yeah, that's one of the things. The other thing is that I'm trying to get the freestyle frames a lot closer to my racing frames. I usually fly 30 degree angle in the camera angle like almost everybody else, but with flying 45 degrees on the racing frames, I wanted my angle a little bit higher on this one, just so that it's a little bit closer, so I pushed them all to 35. And basically I'm doing that to all my freestyle frames. The other thing I'm doing is I'm running wider lenses. So for the longest time, well, when we all started, we were flying 2.8. Then we moved to 2.5, and 2.5 seems to be the standard for freestyle. But with all the racing, I've been flying 1.8, 2.1, 2.3, and I wanted the cameras to look similar so that it doesn't feel so different when you switch from racing frame to a freestyle build. So this one's actually a 1.8. It might be a little bit too wide for freestyle. It feels kind of weird because when you're racing, this whole like fishbowl, fish eye effect, it doesn't bother you that much because you have this sort of track you're following. But when you're doing flips and rolls, the distortion effect of the lens is really obvious. So I might go from 1.8 back to 2.1 or 2.3. I'm flying 2.3 on another build. This frame right here has like 200 flights on it, and it's had a 2.3 since I dropped it, and since I dropped the deck, and it works really well. So I might end up sticking to 2.3 for freestyle, but we'll see. This one is going on the new build. It's also a Runcam Mini, which is empty, but I put a 2.1 on it. So I'm going to try a 2.1 against the 1.8. I might stick to 2.1 if I like it. We'll see. A couple of other things we gotta see here. Let me see. I'm using my own hardware for it, except for the stock purple screws in the center there. Oh, I soft mount all the motors. I actually, last time I checked, Steel does not soft mount his. Maybe he's doing it now, I don't know. But the point is, I'm running rubber soft mounts on there, and then I actually put TPU ones that usually go on the top under there, and I use them as sort of a washer for the bolts. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is because I run 8mm long motor screws, and they are a little long. So in order to not hit the windings, I like to have some sort of washer at the bottom, and then of course a soft bottom at the top. The other thing is that TPU is flexy and sticky, so it makes it so that the screw head sort of like locks into it. And I don't use Loctite, but that helps with vibration so that they don't come loose. Seems to work very well. I've run this sort of thing on my racing frames, on a bunch of other frames, and I've never had a motor come loose. So I think the setup works, and I'm pretty sure it dampens as well a little bit. Let me see what else. All the other stuff is kind of standard. For our S-Bus receiver, I have cut up props to protect the ESCs. Yes, I know Steel shows that in the video that he did for the Steel PDB, but a lot of people have been doing that for a long time. I have been doing it as well. I have other builds where I have TPU covers for the ESCs, but the KISS 24As are so darn big that running a TPU cover for it makes it even wider, so that just don't. So I just run a little cover from a cut up prop on top to protect them from the PC props. On this build, I'm running TBS Unify HV, but because this board was actually designed around Steel's setup, he runs a 5-volt version of the Unify. I have 2 of those. I have one that actually is faulty, and I'm about to send it back to TBS, but the other one's been fine. I actually was running this on a race rig. The only problem I had with him is that it's hard to get him powered. Most of the BACs on board, they can't supply the amount of amps that it needs, but this PDB was designed around it, so yeah, it can. So it's kind of nice to be able to run this one, which is smaller, runs cooler, and once I get the other one replaced, it's gonna go on this guy. So yeah, that's that. Okay, the other thing I do, I actually conformally coated every single piece of electronic on this thing. So the ESCs use conformal coating, the PDB is conformally coated, so is the receiver, and the camera as well, which is drying right now before it goes into the build. This is a board of the Runcam Mini, and both sides have been conformally coated. I don't do this on all the frames because it takes time, but I figured winter is coming soon, rain season is coming. This build is probably going to be flown during that time, so I figured conformally coated now. This is what I'm using. A lot of you guys know what it is. It's silicone conformal coating by MG Chemicals. It is the best stuff there is. I also have this. Whoa. I also have, yeah, sorry for the mess. I might have said, did I say it in the beginning of the video? No. It's usually very clean, and then towards the end of a build, it's a disaster. And I actually fixed 3 quads and built this one, and I ended up with this. I also have the acrylic conformal coating that I bought when I could not find this in stock, but I haven't used it yet. I trust this. And try and get it now before winter, because as soon as winter comes around and the rain season starts, you won't be able to find it in stock. I guess all of us go and buy whatever stock there is. This one is starting to get a little bit thick, so I might get another bottle before it starts getting thicker and winter comes along and I can't find any. Yeah, and this one is almost ready. The bottom of the KISS FC has been coated. I just gotta coat the top now, and it'll be done. Regardless of whether I'm waterproofing the whole thing, I usually, on the KISS FC and a couple other FCs, I coat it with silicone conformal coating anyway. Not just for the waterproofing, but also because I find it's also good for shock absorption. Like, you know, you got all these things on it and they're soldered on, you know, they're flowed on. And if you have any kind of impact, sometimes you lose a fat, you lose, you know, a chip, whatever, you break something off of there. If you hit it hard enough, no matter what you do, you're going to break it. But with this on it, it kind of helps keep everything together, in my opinion. It is a theory, you know, but I don't break that much stuff, so it might be working. Yeah, I feel that it holds everything together. It's like kind of rubber coating, silicone coating over it, which adds a level of shock absorption, in my opinion. And I think it's working well. So all these builds, freestyle build, we all know by this time the magic number with GoPro, battery, the whole deal is 600 grams. That's for a good, strong freestyle frame that is stiff and can take a beating. And with this, let's see what we got here. Well, you are not complete, so we can't use you, but you read at 370 dry weight. Is that right? To 0? Yeah. So 370 dry weight at the GoPro. Boom. And let's add a tattoo R line in there. And we are at 605 grams. Might go up a little bit when we put the strap for the GoPro, but that's about right. 600 grams for a freestyle rig is the right weight. Okay, let's put this away, and put it right here before it lands on the ground and breaks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, another thing, I actually added this TPU 3D printed mount. It's a couch for the GoPro. You put a strap around it and put this on. I know that some guys only run foam. Steel only runs foam. In fact, they've gotten to a point of selling just the foam wedge for it, which is fine. But when you have the K plates of the regular height Alien, the strap that goes through there, the strap is flat and then the camera's in an angle, so there's always a mix in tension. So with this is fine because the strap is held in place by the K side plates. Without that, your strap slides around. So I found out that I couldn't run it with a foam wedge like I used to as well, and I had to get this. But you know what? Actually, it's very nice. I put some GoPro, some Velcro, the 3M dual lock, is what it is. And then I strap it around with just a Pyro drone strap like this. And it's very nice, bolted on, secure. I really like it, you know, and it's not that heavy really, to be honest. And you can protect your GoPro with separate armor, you know, ExoPro or whatever, to put it on there. You might need to cut this off a little bit and trim it if you're going to put an ExoPro from Hovership on it. But yeah, I like that a lot. Oh, one last thing that I forgot to mention, the soft mounting for the FC. These red silicone soft mount standoffs are actually from Rotor Geeks. They are a little bit wider, softer, more gooey than the standard rubber ones from Pyroflip and Ready Made RC, but they might offer more dampening. They're a little bit heavier and a little bit taller, so keep that in mind. On this build it's fine, there's plenty of space, but on some of my racing builds, I couldn't actually run those because they were too tall and the FC would crash and stuff on top. And I like to run a beeper on all the builds. I run the big ones on the freestyle builds, the small ones on the racing build. Yeah, you can emulate it with the motors, but this is nice because it's loud, so you can definitely find your quad. I don't think I'm missing anything. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure I feel the difference in handling with the drop deck. It might be placebo, I don't know. It makes total sense. It's just physics. You can't really beat physics. So battery low, closer to the center of the quad, lower center of gravity, just makes total sense. There's no reason to say, oh, I don't feel it. I know some guys, I saw like I heard Bob Rugi, Eat Kebab, say he doesn't feel the difference. It might be true, he might not feel the difference, but the theory and the physics and the science is there. Lower battery, lower CG should theoretically be better. And that's it. These will be flown a lot and crashed a lot and tested a lot with. So